Hello, I'm Dr. Charla Lewis. I'm a licensed psychologist and a dance movement therapy student. The work of Dr. Gail Christopher and dance movement therapy is important to me because I understand that we're not always able to verbalize our experiences of things, our biases about things, and even though most of the work that's been done so far has been workshops where people are sharing stories and talking, I think dance movement therapy opens a completely new avenue of exploration and communication, and that excites me in helping other people access that.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Concetta Troskie. I'm a expressive arts therapist and a licensed professional counselor. And I'm really grateful to be here to be working with the work of Dr. Gail Christopher and also with dance movement therapy. Similar to what Charla said, I feel really passionate about the power of the body to heal in places where the mind really holds us back and places that we cannot access with our frontal lobe to begin to understand how we are experiencing the world and what's driving our behaviors and our thoughts. And so using the body as a vehicle for healing is deeply, deeply moving for me because it helps to access places that have been forgotten. And if we don't know what's driving our behavior, we do it blindly. And so today I'm really grateful to be here, to be with Charla, to be working with the principals with Dr. Gail Christopher and dance movement therapy to embody and to model embodied narrative sharing from an authentic and heart-centered place to foster communication, connection, and authentic movement. Thank you.
So, I will tell my story first. I'm originally from Texas, but until recently I was living in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area for like 18 years, and had gotten very used to a blended way of life as far as people from different backgrounds, different cultures, different countries, all different shades of hues of people, and was very comfortable with that and really liked being in that space. And then having moved back to Texas several months ago, I was reintroduced to a more separate type of existence of, in certain parts of town, it's mostly this, or in certain suburbs or cities, it's mostly that. And sort of kind of readjusting to that, but not really affected by it. And the area that I live in now is one where I am one of a few people of color. And I had an experience where I had gone to a restaurant, just kind of a regular everyday thing of, going to get dinner and after a day of work, and parking in the parking lot of the restaurant, and getting out, and my door tapped a car that was next to me. And there was a white woman, who was sitting in the passenger seat of that car. And she just really, got upset and started yelling and screaming, like inside of her car, like the windows up and everything. And I was like, I'm really sorry. I just kind of like bumped the door. She was like, no, like you dinged my car and I felt the car moving. And I was like, no, this was, the majority of the noise you heard was my bangles, like hitting my own window and the door and all of that. But she was just really upset and yelling and screaming and cursing and yelling epithets and all of this stuff. And I was just like, wow, okay. So what I know to do is stay calm, like not raise my voice, move very slowly, be very calm. And so, just kind of trying to talk that down. And thinking I can't even walk away because I don't want to make this person feel like I'm ignoring her, or, you know, and that might, you know, escalate things. So just kind of like trying to like, no, I apologize, I'm really sorry, no, that's not what I meant to do, no, it wasn't that big a deal, you know, I'm really sorry, like you can come out and look and all that stuff. And then all of this is, you know, yelling from behind the window. And then I think like her mother and her son, who couldn't have been more like 7 or 8, came out of the restaurant, and they just hear her screaming and yelling and me standing there and, you know, just kind of looking and not saying anything. I was like, I got out, I bumped the car, she's really upset, you know, but everything's fine, and, you know, just kind of not wanting them to feel like alarmed or upset. And I was like, here, because the boy was coming in, I was like, hold on, hon, let me, you know, just move back and you can get in the car, and, you know, just walked around the back of my car and went very slowly inside the restaurant. Got to a window where I could see that hopefully there wasn't anything that she was going to do to my car, and then eventually, you know, just kind of backed out and left. And then just kind of went on. Got my stuff on the counter, got in the car, went home. Not a big deal. And then about 2 days later, I had this delayed reaction of like panic and fear, and like my heart was racing and I was shaking and just really afraid. And I was like, where is this coming from? What is this like? Because I don't have panic attacks. But being a mental health professional, I knew, you know, what it was. So I didn't completely freak out, but and realizing that I was in no shape to go to work, to take care of other people that day. Like I took time from work. I, you know, really did some self-care. And after I thought about it, I was like, this was me being afraid of that situation. This was me knowing that any move I made or any seemingly defensive type of, you know, motion or inflection could have been something really dangerous for me. Like something small could be someone calling the police, or someone trying to attack me, or someone doing something to my car or whatever. And just really having that realization and being like angry that I have to be that fearful of something very innocuous, very, you know, small. And just that it took me another couple of days after it happened to feel it, another couple of days after I started to feel it, to be able to come, you know, right myself, and just really not knowing what to do with that. But taking care of myself and being able to stretch and being able to move and being able to call loved ones was helpful to get, you know, back together. But yeah, so that's the story that I have of my response, my trauma response, and trying to get that back together. It's great. It's great. Thank you for listening.
So my experience started when I was 7, and when I was 7, I moved to America from South Africa, which at the time was still under apartheid. And when I moved to America, I went to school in California, and I had I think I was in 3rd grade, maybe 2nd, I don't know, 2nd or 3rd grade, and I had a teacher who was Black, and I still remember her name. And I don't remember exactly what happened. I know that I was super close friends with her daughter. Ebony was her name, her daughter's name. And we had a dance company together that I created. And we were choreographing and dancing, and New Edition songs, I remember. We did Cool It Now.
Oh, I love that song.
So we were dancing and choreographing, and I was so happy because that's what I did to bring myself joy as a child. And I really don't remember what happened. I really don't. Something happened. I was 7, and Ebony and I had a disagreement about something. We were 7-year-old girls, as we do. But her mom didn't like that for whatever reason, and shared with me that that I had better think about where I came from and what my people had done, and locked me in a room for, I remember it as being like 8 hours. I don't remember how long, but I know that I was intentionally isolated from the group in shame, and asked to really think about the color of my skin and where I came from. And it was devastating for me. I had just moved to a new country. I didn't really know anyone, and I was a child, and I didn't understand what she meant, but I could feel that there was something very wrong with me, and there was something very wrong with where I came from, and that I really needed to sit with that, even though I didn't really understand what that meant at the time. I just felt the shame and the isolation and the separation and the sense of being wrong in my soul, right? In my body, in my skin, everything was wrong. And that's all I remember. I remember crying and singing songs from my childhood over there, and just wishing I was back in South Africa and just away from this new land that felt so hostile and mean. And so I grew up and did not think that, I pushed that away, right? My experience in that moment was to do whatever I needed to do to survive that moment, and I shut down, and I compartmentalized and put that thing aside, and I had to keep getting out there. I had to keep being in her class. I had to keep being with those kids, and I don't know if I went back to choreographing with Ebony. I don't think, I probably tried, knowing me, but probably a part of me was lost, right? There was a part of me that wasn't as passionate or excited because I was afraid and I was ashamed. And so I put that behind me, I thought, and lived my life and grew up feeling to be a person who was really aware, self-aware and mindful and really clear about where I'm blocked, and dance movement therapist and all this stuff. And a couple of years ago, I went to a training for RX racial healing with Dr. Gail, and there were about, I'm guessing 20 to 24 participants, and I think there were about 5 or 6 of us that were white, and then the majority were people of color. And so I was a minority in that situation, and nothing consciously about that bothered me, but something in my body felt disturbed, and it felt disturbed. How I knew it was disturbed was because I started shutting down. I wasn't as open, I wasn't as friendly, I wasn't as playful, I was sort of quiet, and I could feel my body contracting. And I didn't understand what was going on. It was really strange. I wanted to be at this training. I was so excited about it. I loved Dr. Christopher, but something about me just kept shrinking, and I could feel it. And it was about a 4-day long training, and I felt this in my body for the first 3 days, and it was the very last day when I realized what was going on. I didn't realize it here, but memories started to float back up from 3rd grade, and I thought, oh my God, there's all that shame that I've been carrying with me my entire life and not even realizing it. That I've been shutting myself down and isolating this way probably my whole life. But because the training was so condensed and so clear, I felt it. But I'm sure that wasn't the only time I was doing that, right? I must have been doing that my whole life. I could just see it better because it was the focus of everything. And I felt safe enough in that moment to recognize it because the environment and the container that was created was so beautiful and so loving. And so my contraction felt out of place. It didn't feel right. It didn't work anymore for me. So it was the very last day, and Dr. Christopher had gone around and everybody was giving their closing thoughts. It was like the very end. People are like packing up, ready to go home. And it's the very end, and she's like, anyone else? And I raised my hand. Me! I had something to say. But I couldn't speak. I had no words. I just started bawling, and I think I jumbled something. I think I was like, this, like something came out. My whole story, what I just told you, I tried to tell them in that very last minute. I'm from South Africa. When I was 7, I came here, and I don't know how, but I was a mess. Everything about me was shaking, and I hadn't felt that kind of release. I don't remember how long. And the most beautiful, beautiful part was that everybody listened to me, and nobody judged me. I didn't feel judged by anybody. I felt listened to, I felt held. I felt everyone's hearts in the room, just really feeling my pain. I had never felt that before because I had never known to share what I was sharing before. Like, that was a piece of information that was wedged between me and the world, and I didn't even know it was there. And Dr. Christopher came over and hugged me and whispered something like, you're perfect, you're loved, which made me bawl even more. And then one by one, everyone started to come around me and put their hands on me. And it was like energy healing happening in the moment, in the exact way I needed it to happen, in the exact place I needed it to happen. And everyone thanked me for sharing and really, really sent me so much love. And I've never felt that same contraction since. Like, there was this offering of release of something that happened in that moment with so much kindness and love. And so I really understand now that there's so much blindness that you don't even know is there, and that it takes love and safety to connect to it within yourself so that you can heal it. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're walking around with it the whole time, not even understanding that it's dividing and separating and shame-based. So that was my experience, and I'm so grateful for it. And I'm so excited to know that that's work that can continue to be done. And so that's my experience all the way back from 7-year-old Concetta until today. Wow. So we've talked with our words, and we've shared with our words, and we've moved with our breath, and now we're going to move with our bodies. So we're going to explore a response to what we just shared with one another through movement, to experience the energetic space between us that we've been feeling this whole time, and our bodies have been talking to each other this whole time. We're going to move now in a way that is spontaneous and authentic with one another's stories. So the embodied narrative that we both just shared with our words, we're going to share with our bodies.
Have gotten to that. I mean, just in talking about it, yeah, it was emotional, and yeah, there were tears, but like the opening, the releasing, and then even rebuilding.
Yeah.
Like with you, with that energetic connection and exchange, with spirit, and just the envisioning of love and hope and healing coming in. And like I rubbed it all over myself. I did, I rubbed it all, even rubbed it in my hair. I rubbed it all over myself. Yeah, and then even to get that range of emotion, like fear, sorrow, and then at the end just like joy, like splashing love all over you.
Felt it too.
Yeah, like to go from that and to play and to connection, and that's what we were talking about in how you reprogram yourself neurologically with being in that place of being congested and contracted and in survival.
Yes.
And so you're not thinking about anything or anyone else when you're in survival mode.
No. That was your experience too. The lady at the parking lot.
Right. And then having a space and time where you can then feel safe, because you can't get to reset without getting to a place where you don't feel vulnerable or at risk. And that's something that I hope, even in doing this, of giving people the idea of you may not have ever had the time and space to feel safe, to be able to process that stuff and to be able to release that stuff. And it's so important to create that space with yourself, with someone else, with just a place.
With your own body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like within of, and allowing that stuff to come out, because a lot of people are like, oh my God, if I express this, if I say this, if I feel this, it's going to kill me, and it's usually the opposite.
Mm-hmm. It will kill you if you don't.
Exactly. Exactly. It's the opposite.
What's striking me as you're talking is that so many similarities in our story, right? They're totally different stories. We didn't plan them. We just showed up and shared, and the contraction in the body and the trauma response of not knowing what had happened until later, 2 days later, it was 20-something years later, but it's still surfaced, right? It has to come out, but without that safety, it stays contracted and it stays stuck, and we stay blind to it because it's in the body and it's not something that we're seeing. And we adapt to that constriction, and we start to walk around the world like that, thinking this is normal, and not understanding the other experience, which is much more vulnerable.
Something that I noticed in both of our stories was the experience of coming from someplace that was safe, and that was comfortable, and coming to a new place and having a jarring experience in that new place that completely came out of nowhere, that you would not have expected. And when you were telling that part of the story, I was like, because I'm from here. I lived here until I was in my late 20s, and then moved to the East Coast and lived there for nearly 20 years. So then coming back here, I guess it was new again. And that was the safe place of, being, all blended and not having any types of this experience.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I love that you caught that. I didn't notice that until you shared that was another similarity. I was thinking about the similarities of, again, the trauma response, and then the not being aware of it until later, but then also the sense of loss, right? In that moment, it's like, oh, wait, I was moving through the world in a certain kind of way, and now that way has been somehow impacted, and I'm always going to be changed. But that's what I love about Dr. Christopher's work too, and this type of sharing is that one of her tenets is that there's more similarities in our stories than there are differences. If we give ourselves the time and space to actually sit down and share and listen to one another open-heartedly, we're going to find that organically we find connection. Right? That we're not operating from a place of, right, I guess this is our gesture. When we stop and actually share from the heart, there's so much more there that we can connect to, and we have a unified human experience. The illusion of the hierarchy of human value. That's her definition of racism, being here with you and having this opportunity in such a short period of time to do such big work.
Oh my God, yeah, because I'm just so excited because I definitely understand the impact and power of Dr. Christopher's work, but again, the fact that we put the vehicle of dance movement with it, I think is incredible and will have that much more, power and push behind, that impact. So we should do this more.
We should do this more. I'm so grateful that you joined me for this video.
Thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure. I think we did some healing today.
Yes. If not just for ourselves, but hopefully, for the people who are experiencing with us.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for watching and for joining us. And I hope this was somehow helpful of a reflection to really take a moment and connect to your own body and places that you may be holding that you're unaware of, that could be keeping you from connection and embodied
Healing.